During the Cold War era, the United States government had covert plans and motivations that were driven by their fear of the Soviet Union's growing power and influence. The U.S. government was determined to maintain its position as the world's superpower, and to do so, they believed they had to engage in covert activities that were aimed at gaining an advantage over the Soviet Union. One of the most controversial plans that the U.S. government had during this time was to detonate a nuclear bomb on the moon. This plan was kept secret from the public, and only a select few government officials knew about it. The motivations for this plan were to demonstrate the U.S. technological and military superiority over the Soviet Union, as well as to intimidate them. But the U.S. government's motivations were not limited to just this one plan. They also engaged in other covert activities such as espionage, assassination attempts, and propaganda campaigns to influence global politics and maintain their dominance. Overall, the U.S. government's covert plans and motivations during the Cold War era were driven by their fear of the Soviet Union and their desire to maintain their position as the world's superpower. However, the consequences of their actions had far-reaching effects that impacted not just the U.S. and the Soviet Union, but the development of nuclear bombs and space exploration were two of the most significant technological advancements during the Cold War era. The U.S. government invested heavily in both fields, with the aim of gaining an edge over the Soviet Union. In terms of nuclear bombs, the U.S. government poured a lot of money into scientific research and development to create a weapon that could cause massive destruction. The Manhattan Project, which was responsible for the creation of the first atomic bomb, was a major turning point in the development of nuclear weapons. The U.S. government was able to harness the power of nuclear energy to create a weapon that could decimate entire cities. As for space exploration, the U.S. government was keen to show its technological prowess and superiority over the Soviet Union. This was especially important after the Soviet Union launched Sputnik, the first artificial satellite, into orbit in 1957, which was seen as a major embarrassment for the U.S. to catch up. The U.S. government invested heavily in space exploration, creating NASA in 1958. NASA was tasked with developing spacecraft, launching satellites, and sending humans to the moon. The creation of NASA paved the way for many technological advancements, including the development of the Saturn V rocket, which was the launch vehicle used to send the Apollo missions to the moon. Overall, the technological advancements made in the development of nuclear bombs and space exploration were crucial during the Cold War era. They helped shape the global political climate and laid the foundation for many technological advancements that we still benefit. During the Cold War era, the global political climate was characterized by intense tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union. At the heart of these tensions was the ideological divide between the two superpowers. The United States was committed to promoting democracy and capitalism around the world, while the Soviet Union was committed to spreading communism. These conflicting ideologies fueled a global arms race, with both sides investing heavily in military technology and weaponry. The tension between the U.S. and the Soviet Union was most visible during the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962, when the two superpowers nearly went to war over the presence of Soviet missiles in Cuba. The crisis was the most dangerous moment of the Cold War, with the possibility of nuclear war looming large. The ongoing tension between the U.S. and the Soviet Union also had a significant impact on space exploration. Both countries saw space exploration as a way to demonstrate their technological superiority, and both invested heavily in space programs. The space race was a key aspect of the Cold War, with the U.S. and the Soviet Union competing to be the first to achieve various milestones in space exploration. Against this backdrop, the U.S. government developed a covert plan to detonate a nuclear bomb on the moon. The plan was motivated by a desire to demonstrate the country's technological superiority and to intimidate the Soviet Union. However, the potential consequences and ethical implications of such an act were significant, and the plan was ultimately scrapped. The global political climate during the Cold War was tense and fraught with danger. The United States and the Soviet Union were in a constant state of competition and conflict, with both sides investing heavily in military technology and space exploration. The tension between the two superpowers had a significant impact on the development of government policies and decisions, including the ultimately abandoned plan to detonate a nuclear bomb on the moon. Now let's talk about the potential consequences and ethical implications of detonating a nuclear bomb on the moon. The idea of detonating a nuclear bomb on the moon was not just a hypothetical scenario during the Cold War era. In fact, the United States government had a covert plan to do just that. While the U.S. government had various reasons for wanting to detonate a nuclear bomb on the moon, such as testing the effects of nuclear weapons in space and demonstrating their military power, the potential consequences of such an act were significant. If a nuclear bomb were detonated on the moon, it could potentially affect the moon's gravitational pull and orbit, leading to unforeseen consequences for the Earth's tides and climate. Additionally, the debris and radiation from the explosion could pose a threat to any future space exploration missions or even the possibility of establishing a lunar colony. The ethical implications of such an act are also significant. The detonation of a nuclear bomb on the moon would further perpetuate the arms race between the US and Soviet Union and could potentially lead to a nuclear war. Furthermore, the idea of a nation using such destructive power on a celestial body that has no means of defense raises questions about the morality of using nuclear weapons in general. Overall, the potential consequences and ethical implications of detonating a nuclear bomb on the moon are significant and cannot be ignored. It is important for us to consider not only the technological advancements and political tensions of the time, but also the long-term effects of our actions on our planet. And when it comes to government decision-making, secrecy and classified information play a crucial role. Governments often keep certain information classified in order to protect national security or to prevent sensitive information from falling into the wrong hands. During the Cold War era, both the US and Soviet Union were heavily invested in gathering intelligence on one another. This led to a culture of secrecy and classified information, as each side sought to gain a strategic advantage over the other. In the case of the US plan to detonate a nuclear bomb on the moon, secrecy played a significant role. The project, known as Project 119, was classified and kept secret from the public for many years. Even today, many details about the project remain classified. The use of secrecy and classified information in government decision-making is a topic that is often debated. Some argue that it is necessary to protect national security and prevent sensitive information from falling into the wrong hands. Others argue that it can lead to abuses of power and undermine transparency and accountability. Regardless of one's opinion on the matter, it is clear that secrecy and classified information play a significant role in government decision-making. It is up to each individual to weigh the potential benefits and drawbacks of such practices and come to their own